Okay, today we have for you a high energy, no apologies national touring rock band from Central Illinois. Drew Cagle and the Reputation. Here to chat with us about the band's second album, Bad Attitude. Let's welcome Drew Cagle. Drew, man, how are you?
Good, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent, man. So let's talk about here the new album here, the title track, man. Amazing. You got Tracii Guns on here with
Yeah,
you
man.
jamming out. Tell us how this came about. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So kind of what was happening was I was in the process of making the record, and I was making it down in Nashville, and we had pretty much every song finished from the record except for the title track, ironically. And we did a couple shows with LA Guns. Man, that had to have been 2 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. And we opened the show with the title track "Bad Attitude" at each one of the shows that we did. And towards the end of the run, I was talking with Trace a little bit, and he said he really liked our set and stuff. And I had mentioned, hey, we actually got this one song that I'm working on in the studio right now that we're stuck on it. That would just be, it's missing something, and it would be great if you'd be interested in, just take a listen to it and maybe possibly laying something down. And he was all for it. And so I sent him over the track, and in no time he just laid down this masterful just guitar track, just soloing and just playing those sleazy Tracii Guns licks all over the record, and sent it back, and I was blown away. It was one of those things that I remember talking to my producer, and we were, like I said, we were just sitting there like, man, this track is missing something. And I keep telling everybody, and it turns out what was missing was Tracii Guns.
Yeah, just sound and style, oozing all over that. What's his, definitely, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
definitely tell. It's just very cool. So I was doing a little more reading here on your history, and it looks like from what it's saying, you found your inspiration for Bad Attitude from some of the issues you've kind of gone through, the roadblocks and resistance you kind of encountered, putting this band together. Because originally you were in some cover bands, and as we all know, switching modes from cover band to original band, very difficult at times.
So I was actually not in a cover band. It was the music scene was pretty much overrun by cover bands.
Gotcha.
So I was pretty much the only original band in a full cover music scene. So
Gotcha.
it was pretty much kind of the story of me just wanting to write music that meant something to people and that helped people the same way my favorite bands did for me, and not being able to do that because of the place I grew up in, the place I was at. And it was one of those things that I had to kind of flip the script and lean into it. And because of the fact that I was playing original music, people started to say I had this reputation and that I was hard to work with and all this other stuff like that. And I just kind of leaned into it and said, if you're going to say that I'm hard to work with, if I have this reputation, I'm going to put it up on the marquee, and you're going to have to come see the show and see for yourself.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. That's the way to do it. Is to definitely lean into it. And yeah, you're right. I see it. It's so difficult for original music to come out nowadays. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There's so much good stuff coming out all the time, but it's so hard for so many people to kind of make that break and to give people that chance.
Yeah, it's honestly sad, man. I wish that there was a little bit more of an open-mindedness when it came to new music, and especially when it comes to original music. I mean, nobody's going to play the song better than the artist who wrote it, besides maybe a very short, very small amount of people. I think the magic in music comes from when the song comes from your heart and connects with another person's heart. So I think if you're doing anything else than that, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, and I was reading some other stuff here. So a lot of the music from what you're saying kind of represents some of those themes, right? Lost love, different themes and different perspectives, heartbreak and rebellion, very, very, topics that connect with a big genre of people, obviously.
Absolutely. And ironically, the single that we're getting ready to push right now is called "You Think You Heard Everything." And it is one of the tracks in the middle of the record, and it is legitimately targeted at this exact conversation that we're talking about right now. It's pretty much to everyone who has kind of closed their mind, especially to the rock and roll genre, when it comes to authentic, new, original expression. When you're closing your mind to this, and you got people saying rock and roll is dead and stuff like that. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. When when you spend your time and your free time going and seeing a cover band or some other show that they're replicating a show from 40, 50 years ago, you have no room to speak on if rock and roll is dead or not. If every genre is alive and well, as long as there's a piece of music written in it that can connect with somebody, whether it be, a baby in a crib that is crying, that hears their favorite song and they stop crying, all the way up to somebody on their last day alive, listening to a song to get them through it. There's magic in original music, and there's still magic in rock and roll, and it doesn't really matter if it's dead or alive. It just matters if you open up your mind to it and open up your heart to new music. And that's pretty much what the song "You Think You Heard Everything" is about. It's pretty much it's an abrasive shot at people who just think they've already heard everything, think they've got it all figured out. And that's very much one of the core messages from the record.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with you. So many of these bands that are saying that, I think they're looking at it from the standpoint of what the music business used to be, right? Used to come out with a product or an album, whatever you want to call it, and you would go on tour, you support that product. It kind of doesn't work that way really now. I mean, we still come out with albums, and releases and things like that, but you're not selling the volume and way. The physical product is not there. And I think that's what is upsetting those folks. But yeah, it's so good to hear that so many people say that, rock is not dead. Like you said, it's if your music connects with your audience, on an emotional, real level, that's what a great song is.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I mean, record sales, that shit has only ever mattered to record executives. It's never mattered to the fans, and somehow in these last few years, at least while I've been doing it, that seems to be what people care about now, is numbers and sales. What matters is the message and how you feel about the message.
Yeah, definitely. And you've had some great experiences here from what I'm reading through. You guys played with Puddle of Mud, Three Dog Night, Warrant, Black Cherry, and you also achieved #1 single on the media-based classic rock charts with All Figured Out.
Yeah. So we've been very fortunate. We've got to play with kind of a who's of rock and roll heroes over the past couple of years, and it's really amped up since this new record Bad Attitude came out. So it's kind of been really cool to see this whole thing evolve from just writing these songs in your garage, and All Figured Out is the first single that came out from the record and kind of kicked it all off for us. That came out in fall of 2024. And man, it's just been a wild ride since then.
Yeah, and it only took you guys a year, and Rolling Stone listed the band as one of the top 10 bands to take notice of in 2025.
Yeah, that was a bucket list thing. It's kind of, you don't expect it. It's hard to believe when it's the mighty Rolling Stone. That's what everyone dreams about, right?
Right.
So that was really a cool one to have, and that was more exciting for the fans, for me, because I've been doing this for a while, and I'm still relatively young, but that doesn't mean I haven't been on this road for a long time. So I've had people that have been supportive of me and my music for 10 years now, and so when you're able to get something like that and give that back to the fans and be like, hey, all your efforts and the time you spent to go out to shows and the time you spent listening to the music and believing in me wasn't a waste. We built this to get this to somewhere, and we did it together. So that was really cool to be able to share that with the fans.
Yeah, I just thought that was a great thing. Also, I wanted to get your take on something a little different here. So, as a songwriter and a musician, what is your feeling with the ever-expanding reach of AI? We know that is in all areas of life now. not just music and art, but all different things. But what's your take on that as far as music?
Well, I mean, my whole kind of brand and who I am as a person is the authentic rock and roll thing. So when the A in AI stands for artificial, there's a disconnect there. Uh, you know, if you're a serious musician and you are here to move people, to make a difference in the world with your music, with your art, then you don't even think about AI. And if you do, you're not doing it right, because that's not you. It's supposed to be you and your art. However, if you're a if you're a fan, or you're, you know, if it's a hobby for you, if it's an escape, if it's something that, it helps you express yourself. That's what music's about. So if AI helps you do that in your free time, if you got emotions that you need to get out and process, and AI helps you do that and makes you feel confident in yourself, and stuff like that, and gets you to the building blocks of, you needed that to gain your confidence to really take a shot at who you really are and what's really coming from your heart, then I've got nothing against that. But I do think it's kind of silly when somebody would make something with AI and expects a general listener or an artist like myself or many of the other people in the business to take it seriously. Not because there's anything wrong with it or anything like that. I'm sure they put effort into it and stuff like that. But it's music needs to come from the heart, and needs to come from the person, and needs to be connected from one human to another human. I have no interest in hearing what technology has to say about human expression.
Yeah, I put that question to a couple of different musicians, and that kind of pretty much sums it up of what we came up with, right? Connecting on that emotional experience from one human to another. You're not going to have that with AI, and hopefully we won't have that for a very, very long time. But it to be true music, like you said, it'd be inspiring. You need to have that emotional connection for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, AI. It's scary how good it is and how good it's getting now. But ultimately, there's, it's got to be you. If you there's this whole ride ain't worth it if you're not being you. This whole life ain't worth it if you're not being you. So, if you write a song, I say go for it. I say take the biggest risk there is, and try to make it all yourself. I wouldn't rely on anything that's not you and your own creative juices.
Gotcha. Yeah, great advice for sure. So you mentioned, LA Guns earlier. Any chance maybe we'll see you guys on the road or doing some more shows with them, or what do you think?
Yeah, I love those guys. We get we're very fortunate that we get to play with them a decent amount, even after the songs we've done together. We played with them a few times since the album came out, and I can't confirm nor deny, but I'm sure we might have some cool announcements to come up here pretty soon.
That would be great to see, definitely. So last I have for you, what would you tell any young musician or band starting out today? Do you have any advice for them? Like you said, you've been doing this for a while. Is there any direction or advice you would give them?
Man, I've gotten so many great pieces of advice over the years from so many legends in this business. So I would say the first thing would be always ask for advice from anybody who has been in this before, and never be afraid to ask for the advice, because any chance you can have to grow, take it. I'll say, as basic as it is, this is the most important thing: is just be yourself. You can't expect a listener to accept the music you're giving them if it's not completely authentic. And you need to to make sure that whenever you're making the music, it is representing you, and not only that, you got to make sure it's fun, man. I mean, this is this is a dream. This is expression. This is you only have one life. Make sure it's fun, and make sure you give it everything you got, and just make sure you're yourself throughout the whole thing. That's the best piece of advice I can give somebody.
Yeah, definitely sounds good. All right, the new album Bad Attitude is out now from Drew Cagle and The Reputation. All right, Drew, thank you so much for speaking with us today, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, so that wraps up this episode of Talk About Rock. Thank you to my guest today, Drew Cagle, from Drew Cagle and The Reputation. And to our listeners, we hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Drew, again, man, thanks.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, brother.